No, that's what I said to you at the start. I don't want it to be sad, actually. It's more a case of I've got a story to tell.
Yeah.
You know, and it's time to tell it. And if more people are like, well, that's interesting that he's chosen to talk about it, maybe it'll help them think about what they're going through.
Yeah.
You know?
Hi, today we're with Stuart Broadley, CEO of EIC. Stuart, can you just tell us who you are and what it is you do?
Well, hi, Kenny. It's nice to see you.
Yeah.
I like doing podcasts too, so we'll do this way this time, and next time I'll get you.
Okay.
So I'm Stuart Broadley. Yeah, I guess these days people know me as CEO of EIC, yeah, I've done a bit over the last, I think it's 35 years I've been in the industry.
Yeah.
So looking forward to chatting through stuff.
A long time.
Yeah. Hey, do you mind? Yeah.
So how did you get started in the energy sector? How did you end up CEO? So obviously looking at your LinkedIn bio and everything else, you worked all over different countries. So how did you end up where you are?
I was brought up down in Kent.
Okay.
In the Weald of Kent. I don't know if you know that. It's a beautiful kind of country area.
Take your word for it. Definitely the opposite where I was brought up then.
Okay. Where were you brought up? No.
Drumchapel's not a nice
No?
greeny area, no.
Well, this was a nice area. It was a nice upbringing, actually.
Good.
It was a small little village with my parents and two sisters. And in those days, I was sort of heavily influenced by my grandmother. So I only have one sort of grandparent who was around when I was a child. She used to be an opera singer.
Right.
And then she set up an opera group, and then she was an opera singing teacher.
Wow.
And then a conductor. So a lot of music
Yeah.
in my family.
Are you musical?
So that I'm not musical because I rebelled.
Okay.
And if you would have asked me what are my regrets, it's that I rebelled. I had every chance to play instruments and learn to sing, and
Just didn't tape them.
I didn't. I've never sung. So that one of the questions, in the quick fire was at karaoke. Never sung.
Don't do it.
Never
Yeah.
sung. I'm waiting to be asked.
Wow.
I'm not. I hate singing.
I'm definitely
But,
not a karaoke singer.
But anyway, so yeah, I was really influenced by my grandmother. She was a big personality. She loved talking, just telling stories about people she met, things she'd done. She used to do masterclasses around the world, and she was a big influence on me.
Yeah.
And her daughter, she had two daughters. One of them was my mum, who married my dad because he was doing singing lessons with my grandmother. That's how they met. She was just like, as long as you marry one of my two daughters, I don't care.
Yeah.
So he married my mum.
For cheap lessons.
And that was, I think, the deal. So this whole childhood of music was a big influence on me. So I love music still today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of rebelled and didn't do that. But it was a very happy childhood. But in the end, it had to come to an end, and I went to university, and that's where I met my wife to be.
Okay. What did you study?
Loughborough.
What did you study?
Design and technology.
Okay.
So sort of engineering.
Yeah.
Sort of like engineers role, but more in the sort of consumer engineering side, so designing product, taking it to market. So that was good fun. But at the end, got married immediately. No, it wasn't because she was pregnant. And I know you're thinking, we just were in love. We were just in love.
Yeah.
Then it was like, okay, now I need a job. Sent out 100 CVs, got the job. And this was a graduate scheme at Luke's Aerospace. Which was a cool company. They made thrust reversers and flight control systems.
Was that like an apprenticeship or?
It's like a program where you then do a tour of all the different functions inside. This is a big business. Several thousand people work for this business.
Yeah.
And highly technical business. And so I ended up, I think, doing quite well there and to progress quickly. I was a bit sort of pushy. And I was like, can I also do the master's program that they were providing to some people part-time? So I got myself onto that, and that was a manufacturing systems thing at Warwick. And at the end of that 5 years, had 3 kids.
Wow.
And it was like, okay.
So what age were you then?
So I was 26.
With 3 kids?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I've got 5 now.
Yeah.
So I had no money. So it was like, okay, time to do something else. So we then sent out another 100 CVs. This is still before the internet.
Yeah.
And got a job in Gateshead. And this was to be a manufacturing systems engineer at a Rolls-Royce company.
Yeah.
It was a huge factory that made offshore cranes, nuclear cranes. It made military defense equipment. So I was just very happy to get this job, bit of a pay rise. But when I got there, I sort of ambushed with we want you to run the business. So I was 27.
Wow.
With
Okay.
100 people, 6 unions, more than 100 years old business, very legacy-based issues. So that was a big challenge. There were lots of stories which we don't have time to talk about what went on then. But in the end, I sort of did quite well in the end, after getting through this challenge of changing a business and dealing with the sort of, this southerner coming into a Gateshead business, heavily unionized. It was challenging. It was difficult.
And that we don't really see that nowadays, the kind of unionization. So what was that like then, or how did that make it difficult for you?
Well, so this was a business that was run by a team before me that were very tough on the workforce. And so I came in, and of course, I think my role, as it turns out, was a kind of, we're desperate, we're going to try a completely new approach, a young person that doesn't have any experience, but they've got all these new ideas, enthusiasm, sort of up-to-date training on manufacturing techniques and so on. Let's try that, and if it doesn't work, we'll close the business.
Wow. So this was last ditch.
And the unions were part of what perhaps you could say the problem, but in the end, they've been so badly communicated with and treated that after a couple of months of very difficult times, we got to the point where we understood each other. I understood really what the legacy was that they dealt with.
Because it was in that position, did you get a lot more leeway then?
I mean, I'm the sort of person that would always try and sort of shoulder barge leeway, if you like, anyway, to make sure that if something needs to be done, it gets done, and try to persuade people to do it. Sometimes I would kind of crack on and do it and then ask for forgiveness afterwards. I'm still like that today, I think.
No, that's fair.
But I don't think really the issue was I got more leeway. I think the issue was the business was in trouble. And actually, we went into a strike situation pretty quickly because they were.
So that was your first leadership role then?
That was my first leadership role. I'd never run people or business or P&L or anything. And then
so how did you find that then, being flung into that?
I was ambitious. So I was like, absolutely, I can do that. I don't have imposter syndrome, but I did have I don't know what I'm doing syndrome. So the good thing about Rolls-Royce was they provided a lot of help. So you could say coaches. It was a bit more than coaches. It was experts that would come in, for HR experts, kind of the corporate sort of aspects to how to get the best out of, the Rolls-Royce support that's there. But in the end, what they needed was someone that just got stuck in and tried to get to know the people in the business, the legacy issues in the business, and sort of build a new kind of momentum or positivity. Which, let's say in the end, we did that. And we got to the point where the unions were happy with the outcome. We were happy with the outcome. And I was like, okay, we've got something to build on now.
So how long did you stay there?
I was there 3 or 4 years. And we did actually, in the end, win awards. We got Northeast Company of the Year award at the end of that, which is what the whole point was, right? It was like, when you sort of unearthed the frustration of the business, it was, we think we're undervalued, we haven't been invested in, we think we're not involved in decision making, we're not being talked to in a nice way, in a respectful way. And I'm just the opposite of that. I'm like, okay, we'll find a way to make this work. We'll get excited about a sort of a vision again. And we'll all work towards it. And so it was a great moment for the team when they actually got that award and stood up on that stage.
A big culture shift within that business from start to finish over that few years.
It was, but I wasn't approaching it in this sort of classic culture change approach. I was just approaching it as let's get stuck in. It's like let's work at every level, day shift, night shift, and
so they have to work,
unpick the issues, but also bring in whatever was needed to move it forward.
And the company had to work when you came in?
No,
they didn't have work.
Very short on work as well. So we had to win a lot of work. So we did win a big contract. We won something called Bridging for the 90s. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's before your time.
Pretty much.
So you're just a young guy. So Bridging for the 90s was a UK Ministry of Defence programme, which is a tank-mounted system for bridging systems. So it's kind of support systems in a military situation. So you've got the front line, and then behind it, you've got all of the support services that have, the food and the weaponry and the power systems and everything else that need to catch up and stay close to the front line. And those systems need bridging systems to get across rivers and streams and so on, fast deployed bridging systems. So these were systems that did that, kind of scissor systems that would sort of open out
Okay.
and they
yeah.
go across the bridge quickly. So we made all of those. It was a big contract.
Wow.
So that helped.
Yeah.
And that then gave my manufacturing systems brain a chance to design systems and put in place logistics
So
processes.
a lot of R&D and stuff there.
We didn't do the R&D.
Okay.
So the R&D was done. So it was a build-to-print
Yeah.
system, if you like. Somebody else had done all the design work, and we then won the project to manufacture it.
Right. Okay.
So
So from there, where did you go from there?
Well, that I think winning that award and a part of what we were doing then is we were also then looking at packaging up the Rolls-Royce aerospace engine, the Trent engine,
Okay.
for then industrial application. And when I was doing that work, this is kind of the last thing I did there before I left. They didn't actually in the end use that part of the business to do it, but when we were doing that, that got me known by Wood Group.
Yeah. So
Why Wood Group? Because Wood Group had a joint venture with Rolls-Royce called Rolls-Wood Group,
Yeah.
which is headquartered here in Aberdeen still today. It's called RWG today, which is now Siemens owned, but at the time it was a Rolls-Royce Wood Group joint venture.
And was that your first step into
So that took me to Wood Group.
really oil and gas, or
Yes, it was my first step to one, but not into energy because
you'd already been involved in
it
that?
was already to a degree involved
Yeah.
in that business. So Wood Group then was 13 years. I had generally amazing times.
Did that bring it to Aberdeen?
It did, but I then went straight to Calgary and set up a business.
Yeah.
So they sent me off there to do a startup,
Yeah.
which was, so it's kind of strange moving from saving a legacy business to starting up a brand new one. This was a joint venture with Trans-Canada Pipelines and Wood Group.
Yeah.
And this was gas turbines. So I was in my 13 years in Wood Group, always gas turbines, always the service of gas turbines. This was a Rolls-Royce and GE aeroderivative gas turbine business. So that was huge fun. In Calgary, it's a beautiful place to live, and the people are so cool there. You know, it was great.
Great place, yeah.
Then
It's the coldest place I've ever been, I think.
Coldest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went in November or December, and it was, I think, -33.
Yeah. Well, we got there the week before Christmas, '96,
Right.
and the house that we were in, there was this noise going on. It's kind of bang, 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 bang. What's this noise? And they had big boiler systems, gas boilers in the basements there for the heating systems. And there was this noise coming up through the grills, which are kind of along the floor level around all of the walls.
Okay.
Yeah, rooms like that. So the system is hot air. So they don't have radiators, not water systems. And there was bang, bang, what's that noise? We didn't know what it was. And it was the boiler system about to, what the engineer later told us, perhaps explode.
Right.
So they immediately turned off the boiler. So we had 3 days with no heating, and it was -40.
Yeah. Baltic.
So back to Walmart. Love Walmart, by the way, because they had these amazing little portable heaters.
Right.
We stayed in one room for over the Christmas period, while they then, 3 days later, replaced the boiler.
The kids were enjoying that.
Boiler. Well, it was all part of the fun, I think. It was just an adventure.
Yeah.
So we had 4 kids by then. And so anyway, that was great fun, starting up a business. And at the end of that, then I spent 10 years in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
So I was part of the IPO team for Wood Group, which was a big experience. I ran M&A for the gas turbines division for about 4 years. And then for about 6 years, I guess, I was running various businesses of the gas turbines division. In the end, probably about half of the revenues of the business and probably about 90% of the profits, because it was the oil and gas part, including all the joint ventures. So that was good.
And how did the Calgary one end?
Oh, it was just a common. I was just there for 3 years, so it was kind of planned.
You built it?
Oh yeah, no, we got it to profit in 3 years. That was the plan.
Brilliant.
Putting my manufacturing systems and designing layout, and it's all good fun. I love it. So then at the end of Wood Group, so I've been lucky in various times in my career. I've had a little tap on the shoulder. Hey, would you like to come and have a go at this now?
Yeah.
So I then got a tap on the shoulder to go to Hamburg, even though my family stayed in Aberdeen.
Okay.
So I commuted for 4 years every week. No direct flights, Aberdeen to Hamburg. So it was a tough commute.
Yeah.
To then run, again, the global service. So I was a basic global service guy for a long time. So the global service for a wind turbine company called Repower, which it was then. Through various ownership changes, it's now part of Siemens Energy. And this was, I had close to 10,000 turbines. I was responsible for installing wind farms. So this was the idea. Why did they think I could do that? Because back then, so this is 17 or 18 years ago, Wind turbines were still, they weren't new in that industry. They were not new. They were still big, mature industry. But in the oil and gas world,
Very new.
we looked at it and thought, And of course, when I got, it was like, it was a huge industry. And so there was still a big divide between the renewable industry and the oil and gas industry back then. But anyway, it was just a totally different way of thinking about how do you do service. And I loved it. I loved the culture of renewables. People would work in the renewable industry and didn't really ask for big salaries. They just wanted to be part of doing something good, particularly young people.
So you've seen that even 18 years ago?
Well, more so then, because I think now the renewable sector is sort of catching up with oil and gas. It's almost as more oil and gas money is moving into renewables, then the cost of doing renewables is going up, and that's part of the issue today.
But 18 years ago, you had people who were keen to be involved in it because of what it was.
It was a lifestyle decision almost to say, I want to be part of that. But the reason they asked me to go is because they wanted oil and gas knowledge to go into renewables. Because they were going into offshore wind for the first time. And they didn't really confidently know, how do I organize, marine vessels? How do I organize comm systems? How do we work safely?
So how did the EIC come about? How did you end up in that role? Because that's very different from everything else that you've just said that you've done.
They were looking for someone that had global experience. They were looking for someone that knew energy industry, but they wanted someone that could help them understand, why is this membership organization that had been around back then for nearly 75 years, what was its purpose? They didn't even know.
And how many members were EIC then?
So back then we were a UK only trade association with 400, just over 400 members.
So over the last decade or so, you've tripled that, I would imagine, or
we're close to 1,000 members now.
And internationally as well, so offices all over the place.
Well, to be honest, the offices were already there. Before I think a lot of good work can be done. So I'm not really saying EIC back then wasn't doing a good work. I'm just saying the board weren't clear
what their message was.
Why were members? They weren't quite clear back then on that. And they found it difficult to understand that and to work it out.
So what did you do when you went into EIC then?
So I think if I sort of look at the last 10 years, there's kind of 5 things that we have done as a team that have brought us to where we are now. And not everything's worked, but 5 things have worked. And the first thing I did to answer that question was I hired an agency to do double-blind research. So we didn't know what our members thought about us back then. And you know what it's like, if you go to your good customers and you say, what do you think of us? They'll be nice. And they'll tell you, oh, you're just fantastic. And this is the sort of feedback we were getting. And the board were like, we don't understand why we're not growing faster. And yet, everybody's telling us we're doing well. So double blind was the way, which is where you hire someone who doesn't know, who obviously you've given a brief, what they're going to do. And it's kind of a calling system. And, they're phoning up names of people that you've given them this list of to say, we represent a company. We don't actually know who that company is, but they're doing survey on various trade associations, and you read out a list of trade associations, which we were one. And the order of, EIC on that list would vary depending on who they were speaking to. So it wasn't like it's EIC first. I think it's EIC who's paying for this survey. And they're asking questions where they don't know it's EIC that's asked them to do the survey, so they can't even give away to the person they're calling. And then they're asking questions. What do you think of this various trade association? Which ones do you think the best? Why do you use them? And after that survey, which was, for me, was a logical way to find out the answer. I think we did find out the answer. So number one thing I should say that our members wanted from us was our data. So one of the things EIC has is amazing market intelligence. At the time, we just had one database called DataStream, which was CapEx projects around the world. So there we go. So I went to the board and say, number 1, they want data, but number 2, they want events and networks. And number 3, they want advocacy. We don't do advocacy. And so it started unpicking with the board. We actually know exactly, double blind, so without any kind of people being nice to us, what we're here to do. And as part of that, we also got a net promoter score. So this is, of course, where you ask people, would you recommend them? And only if they say 9 and 10. So, I would recommend them very highly or very, very highly. That's 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10. Is it then a positive? I think then if it's 6, 7, or 8, it's neutral and it's not counted. So that kind of middle range of, they're very good, quite good. And then you've got the sort of 6 or 5 down to 0 that definitely wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
You subtract, so you say you want to have more people with heavily recommend than definitely don't recommend.
Yeah. But even the
And that
definitely
middle
don't,
ground,
getting that information is still good to know you
Getting
have to go back and
information
work
is-
harder with them.
yeah, good.
Yeah.
But you want that net promoter score again in a double blind way, because people are then telling the truth.
Yeah, it's honest.
So we got a positive net promoter score that first time we did it. I think it was about 13.
Okay.
That's like pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we did it again 3 years ago, and it was 26. And then we've just done it again, and it's 47, plus
Wow.
47. And the maximum you can be is 100. And companies like Tesla, before the whole Musk-Trump affair, they were 99.
Yeah, they were flying.
So it's really, really hard to get a positive score at all. So 47, we're like, okay, we're definitely on the right track.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the first thing we did. It's a good decision to get independent market research. Cost us a lot of money,
Yeah.
but it was the right thing to do. The next thing I did was then, so 3 months after I joined, Brexit happened. I'm not going to get into Brexit. You're glad to know. We don't want a Brexit discussion, do we?
No.
Don't think so. But it definitely made us feel insecure as a business. So UK-only membership,
Okay.
and very isolated on our little island suddenly. And, we were like, okay. And we realized then that Brexit did have a direct impact on us, which is it made us feel like we needed to break out of this UK membership.
Mm-hmm.
The board were nervous about that. And of all the votes I've gone to the board on over the last 10 years, this was the only vote that was a split vote.
And why was that? Is it because you're a
we're going to go to
organization?
international membership, not just UK.
Yeah.
And they were nervous about it because we were very close to the British government, and they felt like we still are.
Yeah.
And in fact, we originally were set up basically by the Cabinet Office of the British government, who wanted to encourage more British businesses to win more business overseas.
Yeah.
So they were like, surely we have to stay so close to the British government that if we then got international members, that's going to damage the relationship. My view was actually it's going to help the relationship, because the British government needs international players to be customers, suppliers, partners
UK.
to British players.
Yeah.
So anyway, we just persuaded the board to do that, and away we went suddenly. And that was the unlocking of our growth.
Yeah.
Because then we went from 400 to nearly 1,000 members, and really we're still just under 500 members in the UK.
So it's more international growth that's happening.
So we're basically now, there's as much international in our membership now as we are in the UK. So that was big.
Yeah.
The next thing we did was we then went from 1 database to 3 databases, because I'm a service guy, and our database was a CapEx database. And I was like, what about all the OpEx opportunities? So we then did an OpEx database.
Yeah.
And then we did a supply chain database. So all the supply chain companies, our members, because we were like, okay, we now know what we're here to do, but we don't know what the market size is.
Yeah.
How many companies are in the supply chain? So in the UK at the time, we had this kind of 500 members, and we thought maybe there's 3,000 or 4,000 companies, because we'd only really heard of 3,000 or 4,000 companies.
Yeah.
We actually found out, that there's about 13,000 companies in the UK supply chain.
Wow.
But okay, we then put a threshold and said, well, £1 million or more is all we can track. So 3,500 in the UK is in the end what we track. That's now going global. It's not yet global.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
The next thing we did, the fourth thing we did, which was really good, was then we had these international offices, but they weren't P&L businesses. We just ran as one P&L, run basically out of the UK business, and they were all funded as cost centers. But basically, they felt like they didn't have the authority and the sort of equality as businesses to the London office. And yet, when you travel around and you're talking to our stakeholders around the world, there was no difference between a British stakeholder and a Malaysian stakeholder or a Brazilian stakeholder. So why didn't we run our businesses with some kind of hierarchy to it? So we changed that completely and said, you're now a P&L, you've got to own your own business, you get your own membership, and that revenue is now yours. You do your own events, that revenue is now yours.
So you're running as
total break.
Individual businesses.
Yeah.
You can look at the last 80 years of business and see how EIC have developed revenue streams.
Yeah.
But the world is changing so quickly with AI and everything else. So even some of the predictable revenue patterns must be changing.
So it's always been changing for us. So I'm a bit of a history, fanatic.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of work on the history of the EIC, and we've been through so many transitions and changes, oil crises, dot-com bubble and everything else. So for us, this doesn't feel like the biggest change ever.
Okay.
When you think it in the context of our history, it feels like the next transition, and we're good at transitions. So we tend not to get stressed as an organization around, oh my God, how are we going to react to this? We just believe in kind of one core principle, which is the supply chain, that these are clever people. And as long as we provide them with good information and support and networks, they'll work their way through it. It's not our job to tell a member how to run the business.
Yeah.
It's our job to give them all the information so that they can make smarter decisions.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done for nearly 83 years now.
Yeah.
And that core principle means that actually transition and change is what we do.
Yeah. So driving these international offices, making them, or the people responsible for the P&L in these locations, giving them that power, that's a new thing then since you've came into.
Yeah.
So what was your idea for leading EIC, and how is how you're leading business been different from how it was previously run?
I think I'm something like the 12th CEO over the 82 years.
Yeah.
And it started out as a lot of CEOs that were sort of ex-military majors and senior lieutenants and out of military roles, basically, because it was so close to the government.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine, I think, how different we are now to who we were back then.
Yeah.
It's only because I've gone back and read all the board meetings of all the whatever it is, several hundred board meetings that have been over the years, because we're in the process of writing a history book right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned that OTC.
I know. Yeah. And we used to be the only oil and gas trade association in the UK.
Well,
there are many now.
Yeah.
But we were, for our first 50 or 60 years, the only one. And we were a pure play lobby group, an advocacy group. And that's what we did, and we loved doing it. We were very good at it. And an example of how powerful we were as an advocacy group, we used to run big national dinners. We still run a national dinner in London. It's more of an awards ceremony now. But we used to run huge ones. And in the 70s, the biggest ones used to have 1,700 or 1,800 people come to them, including 100 ambassadors from around the world that would come to our dinners. That's how much influence we had, how top table we were in terms of advocacy.
So it's a very different business now then.
So in 1981, give me a little bit of a history lesson.
Yeah,
now. In 81, we went all energy, actually. So the board made, I think, a very smart decision, because most businesses only in the last kind of 5 years have said, we can't say we're oil and gas anymore. We better put energy transition or something into our name. We did it in 1981, changed our name from a sort of petroleum type name to EIC, Energy Industries Council.
Yep.
And at that point, we felt as a board, which I think was a big mistake, but they felt we can't do advocacy work anymore, because they were so associated with being oil and gas against all other technology advocates that as soon as they became all those technologies as well, then they were like, I don't think we can advocate anymore. So they stopped it.
Okay.
Within 2 years, our dinner was down to 300 people, and we lost
that
all those.
relationship.
Top table gone.
Yeah.
So kind of the sort of last thing we're doing now in response to that is, as I've looked at kind of the history of who we were, and as I've looked at now the other trade associations that are bigger than us today, because we're now the 5th largest in the world in terms of energy supply chain members, and the 4 that are bigger than us are pure play lobby groups.
Okay.
3 in the US, 1 in Europe. And why is that the case? It's because when you get to a certain stage, companies, they do want data and they do want networks, but in the end, they want influence.
Yeah.
They want to have their voice heard.
Yeah.
So this is something in the last 5 years we've returned to. And it's a noisy space, the advocacy space, particularly in the UK, but in other places as well. There's like 80 advocacy groups for the energy industry just in the UK.
Wow.
And can you imagine now, if you're an energy minister,
so how do
you work out from that noise what's the message you're going to receive, and how do you make a good decision? So I think we're part of the problem as 80 organizations all not collaborating, all trying to shout at me. You all get
so I was on the OE UK website yesterday.
Yeah.
And you can click and send a complaint direct to 5 different MPs, Ed Miliband all the way down.
Yeah.
And you can select who you want to send it to. So if you've got thousands of people doing that directly, plus 80 different bodies all shouting, that's a lot of noise.
It's a lot of noise. Now, so to be clear, so we would say we're the voice of the energy supply chain now.
Yeah.
So we're not advocating for oil and gas or for renewables. We're advocating for the supply chain.
For all of it, yeah.
And we're not doing it in the UK, we're doing it globally, in step by step. So we're not yet to the point where I would say we are the voice globally for the supply chain, but this is our purpose now.
Yeah.
Our purpose is to become the voice of the supply chain globally. And it's quite a embracing sort of purpose, a vision, if you like.
Over what time?
And this kind of answers the question, how can we set a 5-year strategy with confidence?
Yeah.
Because our strategy is to grow, to become that voice globally. And if you're any of these companies in the supply chain, you tend not to get the ear of the energy minister wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of companies, we're an SME, you're an SME.
Yeah.
SMEs, how do you get your voice heard, right? So you need an organization like us that is the voice of all the SMEs, not just also the larger players.
Yeah.
So when you think like that, then you think, okay, what actually makes a healthy supply chain? And that should be the same anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what we advocate for. And so that's our purpose in the end. And that's made it much easier to think longer term. Okay, this is where we're going. We're going to grow to become the voice. And every decision we make, there's progress either directly or indirectly towards that.
And does that make it easy then for you to lead the staff within the EIC and the different locations and different managers you have dotted around the world, because they all know the end result, they all know the plan?
Well, I think so. Firstly, I'd say EIC's. I didn't change the culture, right? So EIC had, when I came, a brilliant culture. Although the board were a bit confused about what we were there to do, the staff were not.
Yeah.
Right. The staff knew we're a member organisation, members first. We're here to be highly supportive to our members and just basically help them grow. And so from their point of view, they've always had this, we're sort of one organisation wherever we are in the world. We're having fun doing what we do. We love it. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably true to say that before we've found our voice again, if you want to use that language,
Yeah.
we were kind of an events organisation in a very crowded events space around the world as well. So we're much happier now, I think, as an organisation, returning to being of an advocacy group,
Okay.
step by step.
And you still continue to do as many events or more events or less events? Is that still
I mean, we only do 160 events a year.
only 160?
Yeah. And now, like you, we're loving doing podcasts. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Podcasts are great, aren't they? Because they're so personal and they're so direct. The voice is so clear. And it's like doing a little music track or something. It's
good.
there forever.
It's good for me because I am definitely an introvert. Not really confident in front of camera. You'll see we've been filming people at different events globally for 7 years. I've never been interviewed anybody. So this was something I thought would help me get more confident at that and be more visible, but also just to help me become more confident at having conversations, interviews, and things like that. I don't know if I'll ever do anything live, but Dan is very capable, so I'm good. I don't want to step on his toes. But yeah, for sure. So
podcasts are good, aren't they?
Podcasts are fantastic. I'm getting more confident at this now. So I think we've filmed like 20 of these. We've released a bunch of them so far.
Going downhill now. No, you've had to pick me. I mean, no, dear,
not at all.
But they're good, aren't they? So I mean, we've got ours as well, EIC podcast. If I could sort of plug that.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, it's already a crowded space, isn't it?
Yeah.
The podcast space. So
huge
it's another thing. Kind of for us, it's about the voice again. It's about getting stories told.
But there's more people listening to podcasts now, I think, than ever before.
Yeah,
so
growing quickly.
Plenty of opportunity there. But going back to your leadership style then, so what is if Stuart Broadley was coming into a company, what would people expect, or how would you lead that business? Are you authoritative, or are you gonna step back and take information, or is it just let's get this moving? How are you running the team?
So I knew you were going to ask me that question. So I've been actually, because it's sometimes, let me ask in another way. Part of my job, which I'm really, really lucky, I love my job, right? EIC is a great place to work. And the culture was good already. So I didn't really have a role of culture change when I came into the business. But one of the things I love about this job is I get to meet leaders actually like you all the time. You know, people who are running businesses, who have their unique style, their unique vision. And I've probably, through this thing I do called Survive and Thrive, now interviewed 600 companies, our member companies around the world, to understand what strategies they use to grow in tough markets. And every story is a little bit different. There isn't kind of one sort of strategy that works best, or one management or leadership style that works best. So I think what I've learned about myself is I actually get just very excited about ideas or people or businesses or strategies.
Yeah.
And when I get excited about something, I then get really focused on it.
Yeah.
And then I think I just get,
a lot of drive.
it's like, okay, we're going for this.
Yeah.
And I look around, are we all good? And of course, these ideas aren't necessarily mine. They're somebody else's. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Or now with all these Survive and Thrive strategy interviews, I love your strategy. And I think, how can I take a bit of that?
So you're the creator of Survive and Thrive. Was that your idea?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because it was in my first year of EIC.
And the Energy Export Conference, was that another of your ideas?
Yeah, I guess I am a bit of an architect of things. Ideas need to lead to something. Right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing worse than a kind of soft contra-deal alliance.
Yeah.
Let's try and do this, and it never comes to anything. You've got to put something concrete in place.
Yeah.
As the outcome of an idea.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely the same. We're very much just get it over the line. Sometimes things are not going to be perfect day one when you release them. Like our first magazine had sandwiches on the back cover. It was a terrible magazine. You couldn't even read half the pages, but it's developed, and we brought in more and more people who are capable of improving that to improve the service. So it does take time, but I'm very much just create it, and then we'll make it real. So it's the same if we're doing an event, let's just set a date, and once we've got the date, we will work towards that, and people will be more aware versus if we just say, oh, we're thinking about doing this, when are we going to do this? You never actually get to the point where everybody's really focused and driven towards achieving something. So I think very much just going for it.
Yeah. So once I get excited about something, then it's tries to get everybody on board, or get me on board with somebody else's brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's the trick, isn't it? Is to get everybody seeing it, getting excited about it, and sometimes being persuaded, sometimes me being persuaded. But I think once sort of everybody's on that bus, then it's going as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And as straight as you can.
So
and that's what I love to do. And sometimes that idea may be mine.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's somebody else, even someone I don't know very well, but I'm just like, wow, that's such a brilliant idea, and I'm going to take that, I'm going to steal it.
Yeah.
But I why not? We should always. That's what collaboration is, right?
We've done nothing that is a self-thought idea. Our whole business is.
I don't know about that, because if it's okay, I wanted to ask you a question, because you're an example of a great leader running a business. Yes, you are.
Don't speak to the team.
And you have a very unique approach to businesses, don't you? Which is like we first met because you came to me, I think, early on.
ADIPEC.
Yeah,
2018, I think.
Yeah, and you had this proposal, which was, we want to do video work for you. You don't have to pay me.
Yeah.
I was like, well, how are you gonna make money? And you're like, well, we're just building our brand, and we're building our followers, and that's how advertising revenues is how we make our money. So I then thought, well, I'm going to just test this out with a couple of other companies, and they were like, well, it's 20,000, 30,000. So it's like, well, no brainer.
Yeah.
Kenny, yes, I'll do. But so where did you get that idea from? That it's because nobody else does that. Well, and you still today see that as not a loss leader. It's not a brand builder.
Yeah, it's now.
Where did you get that idea from?
Well, that's now got its own brand in OGB Studio, and that's doing really well now. Working for a lot of.
But where did you get the idea from?
To be honest, so when we started OGV, it was Oil and Gas Vision, and I actually ripped off EIC's data stream at that time. So we had a software developer write a program, and it was terrible. It was on Excel, run on an Excel spreadsheet. It was terribly slow to upload, it took me, because I was doing all the data research. So it was taking me probably about 15 hours a day to put the data into this website that then took so long to, if you did a search for, I don't know, the Brents or something, it would take so long to find it. It was just a challenge. But the idea was, we created a magazine for Offshore Europe 17 to try and promote that website. And the magazine done better than the website. We done it that was September, we done it in October, we went to ADIPEC in November, just with the magazine and a kilt. And we've slowly grown that brand, and then we've diversified and changed, obviously, away from the data stream website, which was really hard. We tried to change it into a job board website, but then we had a massive downturn in oil and gas, so that didn't work. But the news part of it was starting to work, so we kind of built on that in the magazine, and that's how and then obviously events, and that's how we've grown. But there wasn't I wouldn't say there's a massive structure or plan, definitely not a 5-year plan, because our business is totally changed from what Oil and Gas Vision was originally to what we are today. It's not even nothing similar whatsoever. So Yeah, I don't know, but I think for me it's all about having good people and having drive. So I think I'm personally quite driven, and I like to be working with people who are also driven, or people who get up and go and say, let's do that.
And I think that's why
we're going to do.
we compete a bit, but we also get on well and collaborate a lot.
Yeah, I think
Because there's kind of similarity between us, perhaps, around we have this kind of, let's go for that idea. That seems too good to miss. And that's what I've learned about so many business leaders, which is what I just love it. I love working with leaders and learning from them, taking good bits, but maybe helping a bit.
Yeah.
That's such a great idea.
So when you're speaking to all these leaders now, or especially over the last couple of years, because you're obviously gone around and you're speaking to companies for the Survive and Thrive and stuff like that. What's been the view, or what's been the questions that companies have been asking you? Because obviously there's a big shift, or has been a big shift into renewables companies. Funding and everything else has kind of been stopped. Companies' valuations are better if they're a renewable focused business or whatever. So what are the supply chain asking you, or what have they been asking you guys over the last couple of years?
Well, I think that plays into this finding our voice again, because we've now kind of whittled it down to what I would call, I don't think we've officially branded this yet, but I would call it the 5 golden rules of a healthy supply chain. And all the questions come down to these 5 rules. So firstly, why isn't there a consistent policy?
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to have consistent policies? Because we all know investors get frightened by flip-flopping policies.
Well, we had Davis Larson on from ProServe, and that was his main thing. A 20-year policy. Okay, it might need to be updated here and there, or reviewed on an ongoing basis, but let's have a structure for the next 2 decades.
Yeah, and that's why if you go to, say, the Middle East, they've got the best performing energy sector right now, and in terms of money being spent, in terms of profitability of the supply chain, because they're consistent policies. Second thing, which the Middle East also is brilliant at, is embrace all technologies. It's so simple. Don't pick winners as if you're a policymaker. Just accept. If you want a just transition, if you want energy affordability, energy security, and all these nice buzzwords, there's a role for everything, particularly now that power demand is growing so quickly, with the boom of electrification, but also with data centers. There's a role for everything. It's not very complicated.
Yeah.
And yet every policymaker tries to think, I have to pick a winner here, don't I?
Yeah.
And they get over-lobbied by one group of activists or another, and either pick oil and gas or pick renewables or whatever. And it's so damaging for the supply chain. Yeah, so damaging for the supply chain.
How have you, obviously you guys are doing your research on the number of companies and everything else, and 13,000, 3,500 that you're focused on.
Yeah.
How have you seen that? Has that shrunk over the last 2 years?
As what?
The supply chain itself?
No, the supply chain has not shrunk. It's just maybe shrinking in the UK.
Yeah. But
it's not shrinking as a group of people. They're just moving to where the profitable work is. So what I'd say about the supply chain, because they will often get blamed, right? Policymakers are saying, well, we haven't achieved our net zero goals because the supply chain constraint.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Okay.
It's just the supply chain goes to where the work is.
Yeah.
And where the profitable work is.
And that's
the third rule, right? Which is you need profitable pipeline of business.
Yeah.
So don't be making it so low cost that the supply chains are like, well, I'm just a charity. Okay, fine, I'll do it. No, they're not charities.
Yeah.
They want to have fun themselves, and they want to pay bonuses and grow and sell out. And so they go to somewhere in the world where they can make the most money. And that's what the UK is suffering from now.
And is that one of the biggest challenges just now? Or are there, what would you say is the biggest challenge for the supply chain and energy sector in the UK?
It's all of the above, right? It's inconsistent policy. It's not picking, it's not accepting that there's a role for technology.
Yeah.
It's not allowing and respecting these companies enough that they can make money.
Yeah.
Why aren't businesses allowed to make money? There are 2 other issues which are also affecting the UK. And remember, but all these 5 rules apply globally. The first one is funding. Just make sure the companies get the funding they need.
Yeah.
If they're researching, they should get funding to do R&D. If they're starting up, they should get funding support. If they're scaling up, which the UK is not good at, they should get funding support. If they're wanting apprenticeships and skills and transition, they should get funding. Because so many of these opportunities, we're competing in a world, but other countries provide more funding.
Yeah.
And then the 5th rule is don't be an island. Export around the world.
Yeah.
The best companies are exporting companies all around the world.
And we're seeing that more and more.
Natural hedge. And yet the UK government has really lost their way in terms of supporting companies to get finance and advice. And if you're in the oil and gas industry, embassies around the world are not really confident anymore that they're allowed to represent those companies, because they're not really confident they're allowed to talk to oil and gas players around the world.
And what?
And that's wrong, right? Is that we've somehow said to our embassies around the world, here's thousands of brilliant companies, but you can't help them. And actually government policy right now is that no government agency, domestically or internationally, is able to help an oil and gas supply chain company and provide support, including export finance, if it's for oil and gas work.
Yeah.
That's the strictest anti-oil and gas policy of any government in the world.
Wow.
I mean,
So
it's just not right, is it? And so these 5 rules,
Yeah.
they actually apply all over the world. So if you're a policymaker, or if you're an investor, you should be looking for countries that embrace those 5 rules.
Yeah.
If you're in the supply chain, they will go to the countries that embrace those 5 rules, like the Middle East.
Yeah.
And if you're a policymaker and you think, yeah, we're not doing 3 of those, we want to be the voice that, through persuasion, through the use of data, because we don't advocate through hyperbole and emotion. We advocate through data, real evidence. We would hope that any policymaker, even though they've got into a policy trap perhaps and don't know how to get out, with this logic, which they will increasingly see that applies globally and more countries apply these 5 rules, it will help them escape the trap.
Okay, wow. Away from work, who's Stuart Broadley? What do you do? Apart from, I mean, I don't even know how you've got time for not work, because you're always traveling. I think you must have seen the world by now, surely.
No, probably.
But what do you do then when you're not working or traveling?
So I'm a family man. I've got 5 kids now.
Yeah.
And 7.5 grandchildren.
Wow.
7 and another on the way.
Yeah.
You're wondering what I mean by that.
No, I worked that out.
Yep. So I spend a lot of time with my family. I'm actually...
And
yeah, they're all across Scotland.
Yeah.
All across Scotland, yeah. So I have a situation which actually probably now's a good time to talk about it, which is someone very close to me has frontotemporal dementia. So that's FTD, which is a pretty rare form of dementia. It's an early onset form of dementia. It's the type that Bruce Willis has. And it's a difficult dementia, right? Because it happens really early in someone's life. And it happens in a way where you just see changes of behavior, kind of social behaviors, and it doesn't work in the way most dementias like Alzheimer's work, where kind of memory loss goes and the recognition of people goes. They end up in a place where outwardly they seem okay, but their personality changes, and then they start to lose some physical functions. So this person who's very close to me, that's taken up a lot of my time actually over the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Actually coincided with COVID when the diagnosis happened.
Okay. Was it anything to do with COVID or?
Nothing to do with COVID. No. So these rare forms of dementia, of which there's several, then typically not known how it started. There isn't any evidence that explains how these early forms, onset forms happen.
Yeah.
There's lots of research happening on it now. So I'm sort of very active with the Rare Dementia Society, which is part of the National Brain Appeal, which is the charity that funds all forms of dementia sort of research and care across the UK. And that's kind of where I went when it's happened to this person in my life.
Yeah.
Which was a sort of major impact. One of the issues is you get told, this is a woman in my life.
Yeah.
She was told it was menopause by the GP for 5 years.
Wow.
And that's a classic problem with this type of
was this
dementia.
happening for quite a while with it? You
5
really
years
identifying?
before they got the correct diagnosis.
Right.
And that's a bad day when you get the diagnosis and you see the image of the brain. So frontotemporal is literally the front part of the brain, the side that's and the front part of the brain. And you see that scan and you realize they've lost half of their brain. Yeah. So it's
over what, 8 years, 5 years?
Well, because we didn't see the scan previously to that. So we're only at that point, which was sort of 3 or 4 years ago, did we have that diagnosis and we saw the scan. And it's like, oh my God. So that was a very bad day.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a very bad year, I would say then, as a family, as we went through that. And then I kind of did a lot of caring myself as best as I could. But it then became, you start to learn, when these things in your life happen, I've been very lucky in my life. I've had a very happy childhood. I had a very happy family life. And suddenly something happens like this and you're like, okay, I don't have any understanding really about empathy, actually. I thought I was an empathetic person. I'm not sure everybody would have said I was. But suddenly, you know, have this crisis in your life, don't you? And it's like, oh my God. And part of the problem with FTD is it shortens life significantly to between 5 and 10 years. So it's a very terminal disease.
Yeah.
And so you then have to accept the fact that, you know, you don't have this person in your life as long as you thought.
So you're planning.
And you're dealing with, well, you're just dealing with the kind of the guilt and the grief that comes with that, but you're also dealing with what do I do?
Yeah.
So then you turn to the medical profession and say, right, how do I deal with this? And they're like, well, it's so rare, we don't know much about it. Which is why I work with the Rare Dementia Society, because they're the people that provide most of the support to those like me that's affected by that as a carer and as a family member. But in the end, the medical profession wasn't really able to help. There is no cure. There's no way of slowing it down or stopping it. So it is what it is. It's like, okay, we just have to now provide care and support. And then the next thing you find out is finding care is really hard for someone who's younger than the normal Alzheimer's sort of sufferer of dementia.
Yeah.
Because all of the care services are really aimed for the older person.
Yeah.
So just a simple thing, if you want to put a person into a care home, those care homes are managed through the care inspectorate to be 65 and over people.
Okay.
And this person in my life is under 65.
Yeah.
How do you get them in a care home? The inspectorate won't let them in. So we had to get an exemption to get them into a care home. And that took a year.
Wow.
So these things you don't realize. Of course, there's no funding for care. Strangely, unless the person is sectioned through very bad behavior. Sometimes with FTD, there's extreme bad behaviors that happen. And then they get sectioned, then the care is funded. But otherwise, there's no funding. So, you know, that's there's millions of people that are affected by this. So, but I just had no understanding of what it was to be a carer or what it was to have someone have this crisis in your life until it happened to me. So, so I guess now I've just realized, you know, millions of people, you know, of course this happens to them and okay, it's happened to us as a family now. And but I think what it's taught me the most is when I'm talking to somebody now, someone that works for me or someone I'm talking to in life, whether it's in business life or personal life, I'm thinking, particularly if I'm like, they seem to be not in a very good mood today. I think first,
is there something wrong?
Is there something I don't know? Yeah, there must be probably something I don't know. I'm not going to make a judgment on them.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't want anybody to really know what's happening to me. And okay, here now, I'm answering the question with, well, there is something going on in my life, and it's hard.
Yeah,
but so I think it happens to everybody.
And the changes in that person. So I don't know this form of dementia, but I've seen lots of video clips and things of Bruce Willis, and he seems now like. And some of the clips you see, he's not aware of who anybody is. Is that the same for this person now?
Yeah. So it's a progressive disease. So you start with this person having some elements of personality change. You're thinking, well, what's going on here? They seem to be more sort of lackadaisical, lazier, quieter. Or on the other extreme, this disease can go to being outrageous behavior, inappropriate behavior. So in this person's case, it was the first one, yeah. So it's kind of more vacant outcomes. Then it sort of moves to not being able to clean themselves, not being able to feed themselves, and yet still very mobile. It's just the way they describe this, it's something to do with memory. Memory is untouched in the early years of this disease because cognitive thought and memories, in simple terms, at the back of the brain, and in frontotemporal, this is a frontal brain. So it's sort of, the way to think about it is, born movements this person will keep until they die. Learnt movements they lose very quickly. So like brushing hair, cleaning teeth, using a knife and fork, they lose. And so these were the first things that
I mean, you say quickly, how quickly, over what period of time?
Months or years, a couple of years. So this person lost the ability to write early on completely. But the GP was like, that's unusual, but it's menopause. Yeah, I know, it's strange. Yeah. So, but this is a problem, you know, that I think there's a story in the news today about another issue of GPs that were not asking the right question. And you have to, I have empathy for GPs as well, right? In fact, my son is a GP, in that they can't ask the right question for all the rare diseases out there. Of course, they've got to process patients through quickly and get them to the specialist. And
Yeah.
if they don't know the question to ask. So one of the things I'm doing now actually is I'm training up to become a cascader, which basically means storytelling, my story, to help communities and, and nursing homes and care homes and doctors, charities, to better understand rare dementias. Because people like me, when it happens, you just have to sort of focus inward for a while and just get through it. And now, okay, it's a sort of controlled situation. This person is still there. But yes, they're, as you described, Bruce Willis, now not there, unfortunately. So sort of a warm person that you can see, and you've got to look for the twinkle in the eye to see how they are. Yeah. But they don't really respond as easy.
How tough is that for you and your family?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this type of disease takes you through these sort of cycles of grief. Yeah. Because when you get that diagnosis, it feels like, and you're told you've got 2 or 3 years, take holidays quickly. And then so that's like, oh my God, and you deal with that. And then you go through that sort of degradation that happens quickly. And then you end up in this place where they're there in person, but that person's not there. They're sort of like, I sort of describe it as someone that's in a coma, but they're awake. Yeah. That's what it feels like. So it's not easy. Not easy for the whole family. But I think, as I say, what kind of reassures me a little bit is, I've learned that there are millions of people going through things like this. Of course there are. And I just didn't know that before.
That wasn't in your interest or in your world?
No, I just hadn't experienced it. So, and people ask me, where do I go for help? Yeah. There's nowhere to go because the medical profession doesn't have, answers. So I go to the Rare Dementia Society because they have carer groups. And although I'm not the carer anymore, I was for a while. And those carer groups are people like me who are all in a similar situation.
Similar.
And so we all help each other and talk to each other and, make each other laugh. And the other thing I wanted to say, though, is because this disease can be particularly cruel because about a third of people that get it, they have the familial version or the genetic version, which means it passes through to their kids. So in this case, that wasn't
the case.
The type. But can you imagine? Yeah. And a lot of people I know through the Rare Dementia Society, that's what they deal with. And they are the kids who are there involved because they're trying to find a cure. And there is slow but some progress towards, eventually finding early understandings of the signals and maybe a cure. But what I try to do now is tell the story. And I think if that helps people to think, actually, I know someone who seems to be having similar things to that. Yeah. Maybe they'll ask the question. Yeah. And of course, I feel bad because for 5 years before we got the diagnosis, I was still traveling. I was still doing my job. And this person didn't have the help they should have got, even though we know there's nothing you can do. Because this disease can't be stopped or slowed, progress will happen. But you're still putting them in a position where something terrible could have happened.
Yeah. So were you obviously traveling a lot then? Do you look back at that time and probably have personal regrets, or do you think I should have picked up on that, or I should have seen that sign, or how does that affect you?
So I think anyone in my situation, when you talk to other people in my situation, they would say the same thing, which is you're constantly now living with that. If I'd have known, things would have been different. You can't stop it or slow it, but you're like, I would have spent more time, I would have, made different decisions. But actually, anyone that's caring for someone in this kind of terminal condition like this, their main emotions, I think, probably will be guilt and grief, anger. And you sort of go through these cycles, and in the end, you start to accept certain things, changes in patterns and changes in, who's going to be in the room. Yeah. It doesn't go away, of course, but, it's everybody. What I keep saying to myself is, when I walk along the street, I'm like, probably most people I'm walking past are going through something horrible in their life. And it's just, it hadn't happened to me before. And now it has. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I can hope for in that case. For you and your family, that things can be as good as they can be.
Exactly. I would say it is about that from a family point of view, but really it's not about that. It's about now it's a case of, okay, I've reached the point where, I'm sort of ready to make people aware of this has happened to me. Yeah. And it could happen that it could be someone in your life and you're thinking, well, what's going on? Yeah. Their personality is changing. And so if I can get a few more people to be aware of that, I think it's helpful.
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Just being aware of maybe small Small changes.
Yeah. And these were not that small, really, not being able to write anymore, but still.
But if somebody's telling you, you know, a doctor's telling you something, they're trusted. You take what they're telling you as true.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things where we can't blame anybody from this, you know, but what you can do is provide some element of storytelling. So they're like, I remember when Stuart was telling me about this person in his life, and that made me think about somebody else I know, and you never know,
Like
that might lead to, I wonder whether I should ask a question that I hadn't asked before. And, you know, imagine if GPs get to the point where enough of them have heard stories like this. And Kate Willis, who I've met, by the way, so the wife of Bruce Willis, she's a brilliant advocate for FTD in the US.
So how did you meet her?
Because I went to the FTD Society event.
Okay.
They have an annual event in the US.
Was she speaking or?
Yeah, well, she was just there speaking, but just being part of the carer community as well, you know. And
it affects everybody.
It's very leveling, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, it affects everybody in kind of the same way, you know, which is, it's life-changing, it's a shock, and you just start working the problem.
Yeah. Wow. And then very last question, we're in a tap room, so what is Stuart Broadley's drink of choice?
Well, I've been doing intermittent fasting for the last 2 years,
Okay.
which is part of me trying to get control of my life.
Yeah.
And so I don't drink beer anymore, which is my favorite drink.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to lose weight. So, and I've lost 16 kilos in 2 years. So that's
like
good.
Yeah.
So my favorite drink now is probably a whiskey,
Okay.
but I can't drink too much of that. So, but when I have a whiskey, it's like, oh, I really like that.
And you have a
So I'm
whiskey
kind of
choice?
learning about whiskies. I'm still learning about whiskies. But I took my dad's still alive, and he was 90 this year. And I took him to the Western Isles. I took him up to Skye last year, and this year I took him to Lewis and Harris.
Right.
And as part of that process, we've been trying some nice whiskies, and he's so funny because he's never drunk whiskey before, and 2 whiskies, and he's
Gone.
not gone, just outrageous.
Okay.
But anyway,
Exciting.
there we go. So I don't have a favorite whiskey, but it's good fun trying out a few whiskies, and it's good fun. I think it's social. You know, having a nice whiskey with family or friends is good.
Good.
Yeah.
Stuart, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny.